We are here to bring you everything and anything surrounding Porsche. I'm Mike.
I'm Aaron.
And this is P-Car Talk. Welcome to the episode of P-Car Talk. I am Mike.
And I'm Aaron.
And got another good episode for you guys. We're going to talk about Taycan new colors. Okay. And then Z01 Camaro and 992 Carrera S heads-up drag racing.
I thought you were just going to stop at Z01 Camaro. I'm like, yep.
Yep, Camaro podcast. And then we're going to talk about some more Taycan stuff after the break, some Taycan charging station. And then we did discuss this in a prior episode, the Le Mans talk about like them racing in Europe. But we'll get into a little bit more depth into what that may look like and what we will see from Porsche from a factory level, right? And then I will be, when you're listening to this, I'll be in Targa, Carolina. So I'll discuss what that is and what kind of event that is. And because a lot of people don't know because it's a very limited event. And so, yeah, we'll leave it at that. So let's get started. Porsche Taycan new colors. These are not custard or ice cream colors I'm about to discuss. I'm going to tell you all the colors, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit.
Yep.
So we have frozen berry, coffee beige, ice gray metallic, chalk, mahogany metallic, cherry metallic, Neptune blue. So I told you all of those because some of them sound like ice cream or frozen yogurt.
They do.
But some of them look really, really cool, right? So and these aren't PTS colors. These are just more colors available when you spec your car.
They're not PTS colors.
No. You could still do things beyond that. This is like when you go to the configurator, these are colors now available in the configurator. Nice. Now, I'm not saying that they don't cost more than some of the other ones.
Obviously, upcharge.
Yeah. But they're available on that configurator color wheel. It's not like you have to go talk to a Porsche ambassador to go say, hey, I want this color. Like, these are available in that. Thoughts on this? Why adding more colors to this? Is this because is there slow in response as far as people purchasing these things? What's your thoughts and theories behind this? Why is this happening?
I mean, I know there was a pent-up demand when they first came out. I can't imagine that there's so many Taycans out there that I'm just seeing all those standard colors and not going to be different and get one of these frozen colors. I mean, it's definitely a difference. Maybe it's just another added choice. Maybe they feel like almost all the models, I think all the models are out. Maybe we just want to give an extra flair. I mean, they're doing this with a lot of things. We want it to stick out more, I guess. I don't know. I don't think there's a slowing in there where we need to make it cool again. Mm-hmm. But the colors are definitely cool. That's for sure.
My thought process, the more I kind of marinated on this was, I think the people who took delivery, who already had one, just like any good business, I'm sure they are receiving feedback.
Yeah.
From current customers, not tire kickers like us, where saying, oh, well, you should do this, but I'm not spending the money. I mean, like people actually spending the dollars. They're probably asking them, well, what did you think about the process? What do you think about our color wheel? What do you think about this? And maybe that feedback led them down this road. Maybe they didn't specifically say these colors, but maybe it was just more macro in the sense of, I think there should be more colors for us to choose from. And maybe that's where this is coming from for future customers, to try to make this a better option for somebody to purchase a lot different colors. And as we know, a lot of people like funky colors in Porsches in general. That seems to be the thing, whether it be a GT car, like colors are a big thing, and I actually appreciate it. The paint world has changed a lot over the past 5 to 10 years as far as brightening colors up, acceptance of those bright colors, where people used to be like, oh, he's just trying to flex, he's just trying to show off, or she's just trying to flex, show off.
Maintenance on the paints too, because a lot of the mattes or frozens a while back are a pain to take care of.
Exactly. Yeah, so the technology's changed a lot. And I think it's one of those things too where maybe you don't want to get a silver Taycan and you spend $160,000. Maybe you do want frozen berry because you want people to know that don't know anything about cars. Wow, I see that car now. I see you flexing. I get it. Very cool car.
Younger demographic, do you think that's something else that they could be?
It could be. It could be something that they're trying to reach out to those people.
Flash.
I think it's okay. Let's rewind 30 years.
Okay.
It didn't happen a lot in our market because Porsche in the 964 world was pretty modest in as far as colors go in the U.S. But we do see a lot of funky colors on 964s being imported. Where are they being imported from? Japan. Well, they were more open to colors in the 90s. Like, because they were coming out of the 80s, and that was a time frame.
Yeah.
That was a time frame of pastels, neons, all these funny colors, purples, and it was cool to wear colors in the 80s and 90s. And then we run into this: everything's more modern. Everybody's black, gray. I'm streamlined. I'm stream cut. Everything is professional. Modern world, this, modern world, that. I feel like we're having a renaissance of color again. Not right now, but like we've been in it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, look at all the GT cars. Look at all the cars that are. I think we're in a renaissance of colors where people. I think it's a dual factor. People want to be different, one, and I think people genuinely like color. I think optically, I think something what has a unique color on it expresses something about that person or gives somebody else an expression as me looking at it. So I think. I embrace the color. I like the colors outside of the primary color wheel. I really do like them. And I think that's more of kind of what this is. I think it's more of just kind of playing into what Porsche has been already doing as far as like when you go purchase a 911. I mean, we're even seeing crossovers. You know, you can buy a Macan on their configurator. A standard color now is Mexico blue.
Yeah, the Miami blue. Yeah.
Or Miami blue, excuse me. You know, rewind 10 years ago. I know the Macan wasn't really around then, but rewind 10 years, any car in the Porsche lineup, if you wanted a Mexico blue, that was PTS.
Oh, yeah.
So now that's part of your configurator standard color. So, you know, all I'm getting at is look at the leaps and bounds we're making within the Porsche community as far as, and I think it helps them too, as far as the color wheel goes and what's available. You know, maybe there's an upcharge, but there's not the PTS color upcharge on it.
Not only that, that also speaks to like process too, that they're able to offer these on a standard, maybe an up. I mean, it's obviously probably an upcharge because it's a different.
Yeah, some
style.
of these frozen colors, absolutely.
But they're able to offer that within the regular lineup. It's not having to be an exclusive option. That means that they are so efficient at building these cars now that extra thing is no big deal. Let's just go ahead and make
Which is a help too for them too, as well as from a production standpoint. Now let's discuss some of these colors. I know you saw some of them. I don't want to speak for you. What are of the new colors? What are maybe your one or two? You like that one?
Yeah, I definitely like that. It looks like a horizon blue.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's pretty cool looking. I really like the frozen berry actually. Okay. You know what it reminds me of is Farah's safari car.
Oh, the Cassis.
Cassis. It reminds me of a Cassis red, and it actually probably is, just has a little bit more flake in it.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that because I know Magnus has his ice cream metallic turbo, and I'm sure that's.
I mean, let's be real. Porsche's been making colors in cars for a long time. These aren't colors that we've probably have never seen ever. They just get renamed, just like other cars, like Lava Orange is, you know, used to be something else.
Yeah.
They just change over time. There is a different hue to it. I won't discredit it completely, but I mean they're super close. They're
like it's
super close.
Another level of luxury, like for these being $180,000 cars.
I think so.
Points.
I think so.
Because Rolls did this for a lot, where they would do two tones or special matte colors.
I think so. And I'm speaking from a consumer standpoint. If I was a buyer and I could afford it, I would like the option to choose from a wide variety without having to even go extra. If I'm already spending $180, again, we've had this discussion on GT cars, and I've thrown that cowbell out there where I was like, why am I buying this car and when I have an allocation for it already at 160 whatever, and then I got to spend extra money to get it painted the color I want? Why can't I just get the color I want for the price that I just paid? And I feel like maybe there's a little bit of this. Granted, like you said, some of these are upcharges, but at least they're on the damn configurator. I don't have to go, well, sorry, the PTS booth is closed for the month of October. Yeah, it's like, but my allocation's right now. And you're like, well, you could give up your allocation and maybe it'll be open in a couple months.
Like
or you may just not get another allocation. What would you like to do?
It's like the ice cream machine at McDonald's is always broke.
Yeah, exactly. Because they already cleaned it and they don't want to clean it again. It's like per shift, right? Oh, yeah, we're only accepting cash right now. What does that mean? You're only accepting cash right now? That means you don't want to sell me food? What the hell? We all know that scheme too, right? I think this is a good thing, and I think it's playing the card that you just mentioned. If you're spending six figures, I think they're trying to make you feel like you spent six figures too.
Getting an extra little touch. I think it's good.
And I think they're pretty unique colors. I mean, for most of them. I mean, we've seen some of these like chalk before, but chalk is a classic one. That's always good.
But frozen, though.
Frozen's different. And I'm sure we're going to see these cross-pollinate. And what I mean by some of these colors, there's going to be people that see these colors and they're going to say, I'm getting a 992 GT3 and I want mine in frozen berry. And they're going to be like, well, sorry, that's a PTS color for your car.
Exactly.
I just spent $180,000. So it's that conversation again. What the F, bro?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was worth bringing up. So neat stuff. Glad Porsche's still always on the cutting edge of trying to give their consumers more and more to choose from. And I think long term, this has the effect of, some of these colors seem kind of left field, like especially the frozen berry, maybe even the coffee beige.
It'll be the ones that bring value later on.
Those are going to be the ones, the cassis reds, the sepia browns, or people like, man, that's such a classic color, but nobody wanted to touch that car in that current time frame of life. And then fast forward 10, 20 years, they're like, oh, that's so cool. But I think that's kind of the same effect.
Look for coffee beige to bring the money.
Calling it now. Mahogany Metallic's going to be the one. Front runner. So, changing gears. Throttle House, they are a YouTube channel. Pretty cool guys from up north. Our residents, brothers from Canada. They recently...
Way up north.
Yeah. Recently tested a 992 911 Carrera S against a Z01 Camaro in a drag race.
Okay.
Kind of an interesting thing to do, but I guess the concept behind this was if these two cars met on the street, so this was an unprepped surface, so it was just normal pavement for both cars.
Straight outlaw like.
Yeah, basically I'm going to the grocery store or to the gym, and that's what these cars are probably going to do, or I'm going to work and I'm trying to flex, and they meet at a stoplight, essentially. So a little bit of background on both of these cars because I know I didn't know the background on the Camaro at least. Z01 Camaro is 650 horsepower. So essentially it's the Z06 engine from the C7 in this car. It's supercharged.
Okay. The Z01 spec.
Yeah. It's it's paddle shift. It's got launch control. It's got all that jazz. But it's essentially their track pack car with the high horsepower engine, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. Porsche, I didn't know the specs, but I'll go ahead and reiterate what it is. 992 911 Carrera S is stated at 443 horsepower. So huge disparity in horsepower here, right?
Yep.
Monster amount. 200's a lot. Granted, the 911 is 500 pounds lighter, and it's still a heavy car, so that just tells you how heavy the damn Z01 is.
It looks suburban. Yeah,
essentially. Land Cruiser weight. It's fighting in the heavyweight class.
Yeah.
Freshman 50 on that one. So that car, so they raced. The 911 kicked its ass multiple times. It wasn't a one-time deal. And they both, and
for science.
So behind this is they both have launch control, so that's not an argument. They were both on a loose, normal pavement, unprepped pavement. The Porsche wasn't running Hoosier slicks, and the other one wasn't. They both were running whatever they came from the factory. Probably a PS4 or something like that to that level. Something that got sticky when it got warm, but also could do road duty. And they raced 3 times on the Porsche one every time. And coming out of the hole, the Porsche pulled like 4 or 5 cars on it. Now the Z01 with its horsepower like made up some of that difference, but like when they passed the quarter-mile mark, the Porsche still was up ahead by like 3 cars.
Eagles must have been sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. They're wounded birds. Probably picked those up as they're falling out on the way down the road. But the point of this is, I'm sure it was hard to tell in the video. They didn't really discuss it. But if the Camaro still had a hard time after it even got out of launch control, putting more power down after it was spinning, whatever it was, again, do we need 650 horsepower cars to cruise around on the road?
Yes.
Okay, there's your answer. Yes, you do.
I mean, it's always like it's a cool thing. I mean,
It's a dick measuring contest, man.
But I mean, it's just like there was in the early late '60s, early '70s. You want that power. You want to be able to say you have that power. But yes,
Those are really good burnouts, bruh.
I see where we know the way Porsche's engineered. It's going to use every bit of the power. It's got the weight over the back. It's
made to go.
It's made to get it, and it is. But then, I'm not cross shopping a ZL1 when I'm Carrera S.
No, but I mean, if you're a car guy and you're wealthy, you probably have a variety of stuff. So this is their track car, essentially, because it's their track pack. What I'm getting at is, it was a straight line, and this is their souped up thing. Granted, it's still a Camaro, but again, it just shows you don't need all that power. If your car can't put the power down, what's the point in having it? It's wasted power is what I'm getting at here. So you could have 1,000 horsepower. It's that old water cooler talk, or wherever you're at, 7-Eleven drinking a Slurpee with the hot boys, whatever, on the weekends when you're going out to the races. Yeah, I'm putting down this. Okay, your car may put that down, but you as a driver are no way in hell going to ever put that down. You're going to just do a big 11 on the parking lot, and ooh, cool burnout.
Man, powertrain loss. That really speaks to that. I mean, even if you're
cool
650 at the crank.
Yeah, cool burnout. So was this test kind of a gee whiz thing? What do you think? It was just a pissing contest? I think it actually was a very valid showing of force where there's a 200 horsepower difference here, and Porsche still pulled cars on this thing.
Yeah, I think it's...
Because everybody... Gone are the days, remember back in the day, not even like that long ago, where maybe even a Carrera S in the 997 version, not a super high horsepower car, 380 horsepower. It's not slow. Don't get me wrong, but it was not definitely winning any type of horsepower, paper war, or any of that kind of stuff. It's always been saying Porsche's how does it handle car? It's not a drag race car. I just find this interesting that this was a drag race and Porsche still won it. Modern Porsche.
Until Lockhart pulls up next to you and rips your face
exactly.
off.
There are cars, trust me, that like destroy. Like new Turbo S's, and don't get me wrong,
even
like
older Turbo S's.
We've gone to a different era of Porsche.
Yeah, where
it used to be the car of like, well, see me in the mountains, I'll outrun you there. Now it seems, and we've talked about this before in our reviews on YouTube and all this stuff, they have this dual personality. Even like maybe 3 personalities. Where now it can drag race, and it can do the twisties, and it can be docile around the city as well.
Well, it's now a perfected version, is where it's really everything, and you can see why they needed to go turbo. Yeah, they needed power, they needed torque.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about it, and I think our biggest takeaways from the newest Porsche, because the late models. The 991.2s were turbo.
Yep.
But with the 992, like you said, the good word you used was perfection. Even with that, Porsche's always evolving. So they're even evolving that 3-liter with the turbo on it now. And it's becoming really, really good, right? So where there's no turbo lag, you're getting all the punch and all the torque right away. And I think some of our biggest takeaways from driving the car, speaking firsthand of us being in it, that it really is an all-rounder. It can do everything. It can stomp out 650 horsepower cars on the road. It can go run the mountains, and it can also take you to work and be normal too. It doesn't have to be this cammed out, lumpy thing where you show up to work and everybody's like, cool, man. So are you like 12 now, or what's going on here? Because you just bought this 650 horsepower Camaro that's literally just like lumping and has this like AutoZone looking spoiler on it. Like, what's going on here with you?
You're able to be classy and still have it's a classy race car.
Yeah,
it's really what it is.
And I think the evolution of the 911 is really interesting in that aspect. And I know we're kind of like on a tangent and we've gone off a little bit on this, but I think it just goes to the point where I'm circling back it in. I'm tying it in where, they've been making the Camaro for just as long.
Yeah.
To be fair. I mean, there was a little bit of hiatus there in the early 2000s, before it got in. But generally speaking, it's been around just as long as the 911. So what I'm getting at is they both have a lineage of history of development here. Now, they've always been different cars, don't get me wrong. However, the Camaro's always been kind of a drag race car, right? That's where it used to always be king.
Yep.
Well, it lost at what it's good at.
Wait till it goes.
Is what I'm saying, is it lost what it was good at.
Wait till it goes mid-engine.
Mid-engine Camaro, son. Get some. Isn't there? Don't they already make a mid-engine Camaro?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's a Corvette.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I'm such an asshole. Whatever. NSX, Ferrari, whatever the hell it looks like this week.
Yeah.
You name it. Cross-pollinate, right? Or whatever it is. Like, just, all right, this is good. This sells a lot. This goes, all right, artist, compile all of these pictures together, put them in the computer, and let's see what we get. Boom, that's our next C8. That's what it is.
We love it.
Dunzo. I just thought it was an interesting test because Camaro is supposed to be a straightaway car. Porsche still wins. It's not even supposed to be a straightaway car. And not does it barely win, it whips ass. So, for all you people that are on the fence,
you need a good drag car.
Get on the right side of the fence and buy a Porsche. If you've seen the meme that was made about me not too far long ago, it's pretty funny.
Yep, just buy the Porsche.
Yeah. The two Kermits talking to each other with the hooded Kermit. Was it trying to make responsible car decisions?
Yep.
It says above me, it says, Mike, just buy the Porsche. So there you have it. Let's take a break, and we will be back. Thank you guys listening to PCAR Talk so much. We appreciate you guys so much. I can't say that enough. Check us out on YouTube. We release videos on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Help support the channel. Everything we're doing is trying to bring the community closer together. We definitely appreciate that. Also, when you go onto YouTube, if you could subscribe, maybe pass it along, make a comment, we really appreciate that. Again, circling back to pcartalk.com, there is a newsletter created on there. Please put your information in there. That way we can keep you up to date on anything that's coming forward and anything that we're going to be doing moving forward and all the exciting things that are coming out. Now back to the show. We're back from break. So, more Taycan talk. I know you guys don't get enough of it. However, we have discussed this in the past where we're like, okay, they're saying this is their sporty version of the car. What's that going to look like if I have a Taycan and I'm a Taycan owner and I want to go to the track? Because there are no charging stations at most tracks. At least one, it's worth anything for me to get more juice out of to continue my track day. So, something unique has happened. Porsche has made a charging truck.
Yeah, they have.
So they bring this to Taycan track days. Not that they're abundant and they're happening all over the place, but they do occasionally happen in Europe, I guess. And maybe they'll start happening here when more people start to have them. So the stats, the raw numbers behind this truck can charge 10 Taycans at a time, and it can do 30 charges. So if you have 10 guys doing a track day in their Taycans, they can charge 3 times.
It's a lot of AA batteries.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lot of charging. That's a lot of juice. Standard time, like on these cars, like what I think it's a 15 to 20 minutes. You get
depending on
80% or something like that. So the same situation here.
I'm sure it's the high throughput 800 volts or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's the supercharger stuff. They were not going to bring the wimpy stuff to the track. Now, I think this is super cool of Porsche to do this because they're really standing behind track time behind these Taycans. I mean, they didn't have to do this.
Yep.
They built this. It's not one truck. They have many of them because they're anticipating this car to be out. So I think they're really trying to encourage people. And I don't know how many people that are in this first wave, at least in the U.S. It's a little different in Europe. People are still, I want to say,
they've
more,
had them a while.
Well, not even just that. I think they're a little bit more track oriented than. I don't even know if that's the proper term, but I'm probably going to hurt some feelings. But let's be honest. Most of the people, like was my neighbor down there, 10 houses down, guy's like super baller. He's got the Rolls Royce Wraith outside the house, outside in rain, doesn't matter, doesn't park it. He's got a Taycan Turbo S. He ain't ever going to the damn track with that thing.
Just next track day, we're like, there it is.
Yeah, exactly. Him out there flexing and drifting, definitely not happening. And that's not even an age thing because he's a little bit older. But you just there's people that are going to go and that don't. And there's people who listen to this and they could give a shit less about track. And that's okay too. But I guess maybe that's why there's only 10 at a time, because they probably have done the raw data behind it to think what may or may not, they may need. And this probably fills that void behind that. What are your thoughts behind this?
Well, one, I didn't know these were for track days. For some reason, I was just thinking it was like they were there for, was it, were they at Le Mans? Or did they show these at Le Mans?
These were like at Spa, I think.
Somewhere. I thought that they were just charging stations for Taycans, just gee whiz. Like, people who drove their Taycans and they were racing their cars. I didn't realize, for some reason, that they were...
For Taycan track days?
Yeah, I didn't... That's pretty cool that people are using them.
I mean, these trucks couldn't be cheap. I mean, essentially, these are like just stored up, generated battery things on this truck, this Porsche truck. That's an 18-wheeler that they pull around.
Which hopefully should be like some solar power thing and regenerative. And
I'm sure it's probably, they'd have all those wind power things. They probably hook one of these bastards up to that thing and just like charge it all the way up.
Well, I mean, that's a solution for spreading out chargers everywhere or anywhere, really.
Yeah, I think it's a temporary thing because then they're managing that fleet. But I think this is more. I like their headspace behind this as far as trying to support you. Yeah, they're trying to support you at the track because of the question we asked. Not directly. Like, I'm not saying we had any influence on it. I'm just saying they're answering that question for maybe the people, that small demographic of people that are buying the Taycan, to say, you want me to put this on track? Well, how the hell am I going to charge it? Bam, solution. Here it is.
Yep.
Good for them for stepping up and answering that.
The tracks aren't going to be like, okay, yeah, let's put some charging stations in all these bays.
They could give a shit less. It's like, they got deals with VP Fuel. You think they're going to be putting charging stations in there?
Nope.
No way, dude. Nuh-uh. But you think this is cool? I mean, think about how much money this must have cost them to do.
Yeah, it's definitely something somebody thought out. They're like, yep, so what happens if Mr. Customer goes to the track with us? Or when it happens? How many laps is he going to get out? Is this going to be bad? Would it be bad press for us when he doesn't make it around the track? You know, that type of thing. So that I'm glad that they did it, and I'm sure that it did cost. I mean, just like you said, maintenance. I didn't even think about that, but they got to maintain these things. That'll be another discussion I'm sure they had, but that's going to be
but this probably goes into
it
probably goes into that $1 billion budget of technology budget. This is probably part of that.
Instead of seeing a full like race truck with parts and stuff in it, it's just one big battery that drops off.
Sponsored by Duracell.
Yep. Porsche Motorsports. Oh, it's a
honestly, if you work for Duracell or you're an exec there and you listen to them, probably ought to get on board with this idea that Porsche has and maybe replicate it, because if it ever goes that way, I mean, you'd be ahead of the game and have these trucks ready to go and charge DE weekends, charge these guys to charge their cars. Instead, I mean, they're charging, people are paying for the fuel. You know, if I'm racing my electric car, maybe that would be cool too, right? Maybe that's a whole nother industry that may start popping up.
Oh, they'll be charged for sure. They got to make money somehow on these things.
Oh, of course. I'm just saying the ones that, I mean, these are they're way ahead of the game. There's nobody else doing this. But I like it to the fact that, I mean, you got to think, what would they have at a 20,000 units allocation on the first run of Taycans? Is that what they pretty much did?
They bumped it up.
And then they bumped to what, like 40? I think they duplicated 40. It. So okay, you think about it, like 40,000 cars. I mean, let's do the real numbers on that. There's probably less than 5% of those that are ever going to end up on track. So I mean, you're thinking like 2,000 cars, maybe
parade lap,
less.
Yeah.
You know, but yet they have this multi-million-dollar, not one but multiple charging trucks, maybe strategically placed all over the world to support those 2,000 people. I don't know. I don't know too many other brands that would do something like that.
Definitely Tesla's not touting that.
Yeah, you don't see them out there doing that stuff.
They're not track day cars.
Yeah, that's not a track car. It's supposed to go to Trader Joe's and go get your wheatgrass downstairs. That's it.
Keep it in green.
Yeah. Go charge, plug that thing in home, let it charge for 24 hours, then you can go out again.
Fast charging.
Yeah. But anyways, I think it's super, super cool.
So
good on Porsche.
I just wanted to touch on more. Like what?
Continue.
Which one would you take out of the track? I mean, would you just Turbo S and that's it?
Probably whatever I could afford.
Yeah.
Whatever that, if I could afford a Turbo S, yeah, it's going. If I can afford just a turbo, it's gone. If I can afford 4S, I think whatever I can afford, I would be taking it. Why not? Why not? Especially if they're going to support you.
Well, I mean, it's not costing you any fuel. That's the crazy thing. You didn't think about that. I mean, no fuel. I mean, and those brakes are special too.
Yeah, you're probably just burning tire.
Yeah.
It's okay. Probably cheaper track day than you ever had in your life.
There should be just like a combo Michelin charging station. That'll happen.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the wave of the future, it's going to be just insane with all these like track days and different things. I am thoroughly impressed that they're trying to encourage people to do it on track, because I was definitely a naysayer, and I was that guy asking, how in the hell do you expect people to track this car? Well, one of those boxes just got ticked right here. We got your charging solution problem done. Now, let's be real. Again, how many people are really going to be running around on these tracks?
We'll see, though, because, I mean, the other thing is that Europe's really looking at is hydrogen power. And the hydrogen is not hydrogen-powered only. It's the way that it produces power. So instead of batteries, it's hydrogen. So
and like we talked about in prior episodes, Porsche even doing research on alternative fuel.
E-fuel, yeah.
I mean,
I think there's going to be what's going to end up happening is just like how we have a diesel and then gas thing. I think Europe is going to adopt hydrogen, and we're just going to stick with the electric cars, and there'll be another divide where like
their stuff is better than ours, and we don't get any of the cool stuff again.
We'll have a couple hydrogen things, but it's like it's more expensive, or it's just an outlier. There'll be another divide. I mean, that's what I think is going to happen.
Probably.
Because I really see them adopting it. And they were already saying that there's fuel stations or something already set up, and it's just like a normal gas station. You go in, you get your hydrogen.
Well, geographically, think about it like this. We've talked about this before in the past, too, how difficult it is for even just the North American market. I'm not even speaking like South America, any of that stuff. How challenging it would be to put the infrastructure into the U.S., right? Just because of lack of geographical population, like you can start to go places where it gets really, really like lacking in population in our country.
Yep. Mountains, for example.
Yeah, not even mountains.
Yeah.
I mean, crossing the desert in Arizona. I mean, there's just nothing out there for miles and miles and miles. You know, Europe, I mean, I know there's some like desolate areas in Europe, but overall speaking, I mean, each country has their own thick population, and you can daisy chain some technology together. Like when these EU guys get on board for this stuff, they're pretty much all on board to do something, you know, and they're way ahead of the power, using natural power compared to us, and having all that plugged in and being able to utilize it appropriately.
Yeah, being smaller helps.
Yeah, and we're at a deficit because of our landmass. Is what I'm getting at. Is like if you just look at a globe. And you look at the United States of America, and then you just look at Europe, and you just basically crop that and lay that over that. I mean, look at that landmass. Yeah, it's huge.
And Germany's like the size
and you
of
have
Wyoming.
the interesting thing is all of those countries have their own infrastructure and own governments. That we just have one government governing our entire landmass, and they have each of those countries have their own monies coming in to help stand those countries up. We still have one country with the one monies.
Well, they're united in front of that, but yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, they still have their own day-to-day operations. They all have their own, like, what makes them money and all that kind of stuff is all I'm getting at. So there's a lot to go into that. I know we've spun off like we normally do, but I think overall it's super cool that Porsche's doing it. I love that they're encouraging Porsche Taycan owners.
Race car.
At least in the U.S.,
most of
them are flexes, so they can go, you know, to the mall and valet their car, or go out to a very opulent restaurant and flex with their Taycan. These cars aren't going to see the track. You could probably ask that same Taycan driver, 99 out of 100 of them are not even going to know what a Michelin tire is. And that's just reality.
Yep.
It is what it is. So enough on that. Like I said, we discussed this on the last podcast. I only touch it briefly. We did talk about Porsche factory racing probably in Europe next year. What do you think
100%.
that's going to look like?
It's going to be, well, I mean, all the endurance races, just like normal.
Nürburgring stuff.
Yep, Nürburgring,
Spa.
Le Mans, everything that's got a 24-hour. I think they're actually doing something.
So they're going to be focusing on a Euro championship then.
Yeah, the world, yeah, whatever they call it, the world, but it's really just Europe.
Yeah, because that's all they race in is
Yeah.
Europe. I mean, they don't go out to Asia and race.
So that's what I see them doing. I think they talked about doing an endurance race in Monza, which I don't think they've done.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure on that. Yeah, they're just going to do the normal stay at home, essentially, and run their teams. And it benefits them. I mean,
What do you think that looks like for a Porsche fan living in the U.S.? Is that basically from
a lot of Motor Trend?
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of just watching on TV.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be. And unless those passports standards are just disappear.
Do you think? Well, I guess it probably wouldn't because it's not like it's a new series; it already exists. And sometimes we get it on NBC, and sometimes we get it on other channels. So it's going to be up to basically the viewer to kind of hunt down where this is going to be televised at, right?
I would think since Motor Trend had it this year, they're going to start. Maybe they'll capitalize on all those, and then have it. But they're normally if it's not on a Motor Trend, you can find it on YouTube. They're pretty good about streaming because I've
seen some stuff on there.
Like,
I've seen some spa stuff on there before.
Even it's just like Nürburgring and stuff. It's televised in English and German.
Okay.
With the Le Mans boys, those guys doing it.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think it's going to be basically same kind of driver lineup, just geographically different?
Yeah, I think it's going to remain.
I mean, give or take, obviously, like everything changes, whoever makes the team. But what I'm getting is the core of what they do. Same RSR car, engineers, same kind of layout, I guess. And whatever the ponds that are in that changes a little bit. Yeah, that kind of stuff. You feel, but they're just going to stay over in Europe.
Yep, I think that's what they're going to do. It's easier.
Do you think that's going to be? That's probably going to be better for the teams in general because a lot of them live over there anyways, right?
Yep.
So
they're all
the
British
travel
or
on them,
German,
so on the travel on them
French.
won't be as harsh.
Yeah,
So-
I see it being like 100% benefit, and they're able to train harder, and they're not losing any travel days.
Yeah,
They're not
and they're not jet
lagging.
lagged up.
Yeah.
They're not worried about.
They're not trying to run both series.
Yeah, they're
'cause
not
some of
worried
those guys
about
do
like,
run IMSA.
yeah,
And
yeah, because we've seen
Yeah.
it where the guys will like even Kevin's talking about. He's like, "Oh, we'll see you next weekend. No, we'll have a week off, and then we'll see you at Nürburgring."
yeah,
And a lot of those guys are doing double duty, but then they're in the U.S. or they're in, they're back and forth. It'll probably be health-wise, from a sleep deprivation-wise, they'll probably be healthier, and they may actually just do better because they're sleeping better, they're with their families, or maybe it's the Rocky mentality because now they're comfortable, and he goes to Siberia to train because he wants to be like, even though he's the champ, he wants to be training in a dungeon. Maybe these guys are going to be comfortable. Maybe it'll soften them up. There's that thought too.
they just need to work out the cars.
Yeah.
They need to be like pit lane practice. Like,
Oh, I think they're just a victim of the circumstance of like a crazy year, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of misfortune that happened with that. I don't think any other team is immune to that. The difference is we just got to see Porsches kind of happen
we don't
on
like seeing
TV.
it. Yeah, because we're so used to being a winner.
Well, we're just so used to them being perfect.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think it's just one of those things where it shows that they're human too. Like with the pit lane stuff, it's happened, and the crazy stuff. Hopefully we'll get a good close. We're going to be at Petite next month. Hopefully that'll be awesome. And then the month after we'll be at Sebring. Hopefully they finish strong. And I know they will, even if they're still going to run hard. I mean, those guys care. It's not like they did. Like Le Mans was. I mean, everybody gears up for Le Mans. Like, no matter what everybody says, I mean, I love the Daytona 24 because we live here. But let's be real. Le Mans is the real Super Bowl. Everybody calls the 24 Rolex and Daytona the Super Bowl. Really, let's be real. Like, no one cares what happens the rest of the year. Like, you could lose every single race, but if you podium first at Le Mans, you're the king.
Yep.
That's the one. I mean, that's the longest running endurance race that matters to anybody. Like anybody who's ever raced in Le Mans, even if they haven't won, they tell you they raced at Le Mans. And anybody who knows anything about racing is like, holy shit, you raced at Le Mans? Like it's that level. I think it'd be interesting to see. I'm thankful for that little tidbit. Will it come to fruition? We're still on the fence. Porsche's never confirmed that they were going to continue to factory race, but we just kind of assume they are.
Seems like something they do. I mean, at least they're going to be customers supporting the GTAMs and the
yeah, of course,
stuff,
of course.
So.
Yeah, we already know that. They already announced that. Here's one little bit before we move on from this topic. If they were going to continue in Europe with their factory team, when they made the announcement when they were going to pull out of IMSA, why would you think at that would have been a very, very good opportunity to announce that you still were going to race in Europe with your factory RSR team? Why do you think that did not happen? And we're assuming they're going to race next year because of what they said. Oh, we'll be back next year with a better car, or we'll have it dialed in, or whatever. And are we just looking too far into that statement?
We're looking too far. They're coming back LMDH car. They have it prepped. They're putting their money in that, and then they're just going to let Europe run the 911.
Probably. I think so.
They're going to showcase it.
Yeah, let Manti do its thing at Nürburgring, continue to win there. And
they're going to show America what.
And they're just going to go hypercar series and be good with it. I think that's more of like what they're going to do. I think they're going to get out of that too.
Because they have to have something to keep pushing their Taycan program.
Yeah, the 911 speaks for itself, right? Like we've talked about this many, many times offline. You do not need to run the RSR car to sell GT3 RSs and GT3s.
Well, it helps them.
It's cool that they do it, but they don't need. People are still going to line up in droves for allocations for those cars every year.
Well, if you think about it from the testing perspective, they have Europe for their 911 RSR now, so they have the GT car program taken care of there, and now they have somewhere to test their electric program. That's not Formula E.
Mm-hmm.
So that gets probably more car relatable as far as the Taycan goes, and whatever future Taycan GT RS, whatever happens with that. I can see that. That's what they're trying to do.
I like that answer better.
Trying to split
than
up their performance.
us thinking they're going to race the RSR in Europe. I think it was a heat of the moment saying. I think they will be at Le Mans because I don't think Porsche will not race Le Mans, but I agree they may be there with a hypercar, not the RSR.
Or both.
I would love to see them both there. That would be great. But to support what you're thinking too, and I'm not disagreeing with you, and I'm just playing, that game. I think you're right though, because why would you develop a new RSR car, which that is a new car for this year, even if it looks the same, it is different, to not race it again? Because there's R&D that went into that. Yeah, and I know this was unexpected for them because of the COVID year. It was an unexpected cancellation of the following race year, at least according to Porsche. Maybe it was their plan anyways. It didn't matter. They just took the opportunity to cancel. However, they're still with the money that's in that car. I just don't think they're going to shelve it yet.
Well, I think regulations, I think they have to have a certain year car. I don't think they can just keep running the 17 or whatever, 16, 17, whatever that car is that they run in GTAM. But, I can see them splitting the programs, one in the U.S. for the prototype, and then leaving the Europe. It makes sense. And aspects of being able to develop both things simultaneously.
Yeah.
Without doubling up, because now you're, like we said, you're just tiring drivers. You're giving yourself more of a chance to win the world championship by keeping these guys rested.
And you're still racing Le Mans, the one that really matters.
Yep.
Yeah, and then on different news outside of the factory, Dempsey Proton Racing purchased 5 of the current RSR models for next year's racing. So at a minimum, we'll at least see 5 of those probably fielded by Dempsey Proton, because I think they fielded 5 this year, or 3, or it was either 4 or 5. Anyways, at Le Mans.
So do you think that he's gonna see? Well, that wouldn't make any sense. I was gonna say, what do you think he's gonna take over and then be in the GTE series and factory backed by Porsche that way?
I don't think you can do that.
That didn't make sense.
Because unless you're a manufacturer, I don't think you get to race in that series regardless of the level, unless you're making the car.
Okay.
Because you think about it, it's a manufacturer series. That's the Pro Series. because you think about all the people below them, none of those teams make those cars. I mean, they had Astons, Ferraris, all those other teams, and they're racing the GT Am. I think Dempsey's going to stay right where they're at. They're just going to race the current RSR because I mean they're racing the RSR and they podium second with the previous model.
You got a group buy if it buys 5, you get the deal.
Probably got a BOGO.
Free.
You know, buy one get one.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm sure.
Yeah, bought 2, got 2 free, and then had to pay like full price for another one. I don't know. But good on Patrick, you know, for continuing his race enthusiasm and involvement in that. It's exciting to see him as a co-race owner out there still having involvement in racing, even though he's not personally racing. And I love that, you know, he has a loyalty still to Porsche. He loves Porsche.
Yeah.
You know, so good for Patrick and good for the rest of us too as fans, right?
It is.
All right. So one last thing before I close. You're listening to this. I'm in Targa, Carolina. What's Targa, Carolina? I know what it is. Why don't you tell people what it is?
So it's driving, of course.
Yeah.
Up in the Carolina region. Mm-hmm. Should we say who it's with, or
no?
Okay. So
because I don't want people bombarding him
Okay.
for invites or any of that kind of stuff.
All right. So it's a limited air-cooled event, and it's limited by 1, amount of people, and then 2, age of car.
Yeah. So about 30 or so cars, air-cooled only.
What's the vintage restriction? I don't know the.
As long as it's air-cooled.
Oh, as long as it's air-cooled. Okay.
Yeah. Invite only.
Yeah.
It's Aaron would be invited.
Yep.
He just doesn't have an air cooled, so he's
slacking.
Checks one of the boxes. He got the invite. He's just you can't show up and not an air cooled. There's no exceptions. So it's essentially an air cooled driving event, just a lot like foreign, but it's more limited to air cooled only.
Yep. Different spot.
A little different in the sense of there's not a club membership for this. It's mainly hosted by a friend of ours who it's a invite only. Great guy, and thankful that he's hosting the event. And it's going to be a great time of the year. Like I said, it's nice up there. It's in the 40s at night and 60s during the day. So the air cooleds are going to be happy.
It's gonna be, so you're looking for this long, the drive up. I mean, it's a decent drive. Was it 8 hours, 9 hours?
Yeah, you know, my drive's going to be broken up on the way up at least. I'm stopping in Jacksonville and staying with old Probanik for a night, and then we're going to take the drive up together from Jacksonville to there. So
driving like 70 miles an hour somewhere. Keep up.
Exactly. The Beetle. I think the really painful part about it is we'll be on the way back because I'll probably come straight through from North Carolina to Florida. I say that now. I don't have to drive it straight back. I'll see how I feel. I may crash at Mark's Sunday night and then get in the car and drive home Monday. You know, it's only 4.5 hours, but when you're already tired, another 4.5 hours is pretty brutal.
Yep.
So I may do that. But yeah, really looking forward to that. There'll be a lot of footage that comes from that. I'll be bringing the GoPros with me. I'll be posting on Instagram as well. And there's a lot of Florida invites that are going up. You know, Jaime, Al, and all those guys. We're all part of that group. They're all going up as well. Our buddy Albert. It's going to be a good trip. Sunil will be there.
Nice.
It's gonna be a good time. So it's and we're gonna break it up in the groups, and I'm ready to get after it. You and I talked about it where I was jonesing to go back up, and I'm glad I'm going up again in a different car. So it's gonna be different. So I'm excited.
Should work out from this year on. It should be work out that way.
Yeah. So it should work out pretty well. Get a back-to-back month driving events and 2 different cars, like in a turbo and an air-cooled. So it should be fun. I will report back. This is my first year going to it. I promised him I was going to go last year, and I bailed for some lame reason. I can't remember what it was, but I couldn't go. And I promised him when I saw him, because he came to me, he goes, "Mike, you are the first person I ever invited that hasn't come." And that really made me feel like shit. So I don't know. That wasn't the purpose of him telling me that. Yeah. It was more of kind of just like, he's a guy. He's a passionate guy. Yeah. Like he's passionate, and he's like, "Hey, if I invite you, man, I want you to come." And I wanted to come. I legitimately did have some prior obligation that I think it fell on the same weekend. But like I said, come hell or high water, I was going, and I am. So
pretty sure it was a race weekend.
It might have been. It might have been because the dates have changed from what it used to be, and I'm thankful for that. But yeah, a lot of photos coming, a lot of video coming. we'll have commentary when I come back about it and what I thought about it, and I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And we're going to try to get Aaron in an air cooled eventually, so he can be like a partisan of that. But I don't have anything else. Do you have anything?
I don't.
All right. Love you guys. Thank you guys for listening. You guys are truly the best. And we'll talk to you on the next one.
Yep. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of P-Car Talk. Connect with us on Instagram at P-Car Talk or online at pcartalk.com.